there would be days where literally the metal roof would melt my shoes.
Hey, welcome to Ascend the Hill with Jeremy Austill, and this is...
I'm Chase Courtney. I'm not Jeremy Austill.
This is not Pastor Jeremy. Pastor Jeremy is taking care of some business today. We have a rental here with our district affiliation. They're going to district council all this week, so he's tied up with that. But we get to introduce you to somewhat new. You've been here for how long?
About 2 months, a little over 2 months.
If you didn't know, this is Pastor Chase Courtney, our new executive pastor. Yeah. He's been on for 2 months now, and he has a backstory that I think will be great to hear for a lot of people, just encouraging his story of coming to being a pastor and everything. And so we'll kind of dive into that. Yeah. But I just appreciate you being on today and doing your best Pastor Jeremy impression. I appreciate that.
Yeah. That's big shoes to fill for sure.
Well, great. Well, first of all, as we get into your story, most people don't know or haven't got a chance to meet you or talk with you. Of course, you've been here for 2 months, so it's kind of hard. Yeah. In 2 months, you meet a lot of people. So I assume there's
a lot of people.
There's probably a lot of people where they're like, "Hey, Pastor Chase," and you're like,
"Hey, buddy.
Yeah, hey, how's it going? I love you."
It's very difficult, but it's I challenge myself to remember names as best I can.
Yeah,
it's a big deal. So.
But
I don't remember everyone.
Yeah, same here. And I've been going to the church for like 8 years, and I still forget people. So, oops. Yeah. And you have a family, so tell me a little bit about your family. Tell us about your family.
Yeah, I'm married. I've been married for coming up on 15 years, which is crazy because I know I look about 20, 25. I am not. A lot older than that. So my wife, Ashley, and then I've got 2 kids. I got a 4-year-old named Elijah.
Yeah.
And he is wild, full of energy. And I've got a 1-year-old, almost 2-year-old named Lainey. So definitely joys of our heart for sure, and of our life. It's just they keep us on our toes for sure. So we've been doing this, and it's been a fun move, an adjustment, but good. The family's loving it. Get to be a little closer to my wife's family, but the downside is that I moved away from a lot of my family. But it's what ministry calls you to do sometimes. So
now where are you from originally?
I'm originally from Beaumont, Texas. So
Beaumont,
it's kind of like the armpit of the United States. It's just the armpit of Texas.
Yeah.
No, it's great. Great people, great food. It's right on the border of Louisiana and Texas. So right there in between Houston and Louisiana. So you've got great Cajun food, seafood.
Yeah.
The food is great, and the people are great. The weather is not so great.
I was about to say, is it hot there already?
It's hot, humid. If you like hurricanes, it's the place for you.
Oh man.
If you like flooding, it's a great place. But the Lord did some incredible things in my life there. In fact, that's where Pastor Jeremy was. He was there for a few years as a youth pastor in my youth ministry. So I think going into my senior year, he became my youth pastor. So I only had him for 1 year, but obviously that 1 year pretty much transformed my entire life.
Yeah. So that's where you met Pastor Jeremy.
That's where I met him. Yeah. Met him there. And so I stuck around. Actually had plans to go to Texas Tech. And got saved about a month before I left for college, and changed my plans, called Texas Tech, canceled. And I stuck around Beaumont so that I could be under Pastor Jeremy's ministry and just really just soak in and grow because the Lord had done something so rich and deep in my heart. So, So from Beaumont.
So you stayed through end of high school into college there to help and everything?
Yeah. So I stuck around Beaumont for 2 years into college, ended up transferring to Lee University in Tennessee, in Cleveland, where I met my wife. So she was there, and so I graduated from Lee. Ashley graduated from Lee as well. And so
that's great. Yeah. I love that. And that's a crazy connection, just being in Texas and all of a sudden, and now 15 years, more than 15 years later, I guess. How long ago was that?
It was a long time ago. Yeah, a long time ago.
So a long time ago, you met Pastor Jeremy.
A little bit more than 15 years. Not much.
Yeah.
Not
and now
much.
the roads have crossed again here in Nashville. And what's been your favorite thing about Nashville so far? Have you visited Nashville quite a bit, or?
Yeah, a few times. We're living a little north of here, but it's it's been great. We love the people, the church for sure.
Yeah.
As far as Nashville goes, obviously the food's great. As much as I do like, the country feel, I am definitely a city type of person.
Yeah.
I like being where action is. I like being where people are. So, we drag our 4-year-old and 1-year-old downtown, and we go to farmers markets and we're just around people. Now my wife doesn't love that as much as I do. But yeah, the food and just getting to explore the new, for us, new parts of a city that we've never seen and explored. So it's been fun.
Yeah, that's great. And the cool thing about Nashville is that it's still growing. And so there's a lot more even that I haven't seen. Me and my wife will do like tourist days where we try to be a Nashville tourist for a day.
Yeah.
It's a thing. It takes forever to visit downtown, and
oh my gosh,
there's so much to do. You know? But that's great that y'all are settling into that.
Yeah, it's good. And just a few weeks ago, I didn't realize how close we lived to Kentucky.
Oh, yep.
Which we drove to Kentucky. It took us like 20 minutes, and we just ate dinner and came back. And I realized, okay, Kentucky looks exactly the same.
Yeah,
it's Tennessee. You would never know. But it's. For me, it's living in Texas for so long, especially in San Antonio.
Yeah.
San Antonio is literally in the middle of Texas. So it takes basically 6 to 8 hours going east or west or north to get out of Texas. So to be just, 20 minutes away to another state is interesting.
Yeah. I remember living in Texas too. And it's crazy how big the state is. Like they say it's bigger in Texas. They really mean it.
It's true. Yeah.
Well, into your background, you mentioned that you had almost gone to Texas Tech, and then you decided to stay. So obviously, in that decision was probably something, a spiritual calling or something that happened in that moment. What was that moment like for you, where you're like, I had this plan for my life, but obviously it seemed like God interrupted that plan? What was kind of like that moment for you?
Yeah, I remember the moment that I gave my heart to Jesus for real. And Pastor Jeremy had preached that Sunday morning, and it wasn't about the message, wasn't about the worship. It was literally the first time I had heard and felt the love and heart of God, the heart of the Father. Didn't grow up in a great home as far as father standpoint.
Yeah.
And so when I had that moment with the Lord, it spoke deeply to me. And it really changed the trajectory of my life forever. I got off the floor that Sunday morning after crying and weeping for over an hour and just feeling the love of the Father for the first time. And I knew, like, this is who I want to be. This is what I want to be a part of. And so it was hard because I had lots of friends that I was going to Texas Tech with. We had plans, not necessarily good plans, not plans of like, oh, I'm going to, do this with my life and I'm going to, be a doctor or anything like that. It was more plans like, I can't wait to hang out with my friends for the next 4 years away from home.
Yeah.
And so, I got off that floor that morning and I knew that I just had to stay. I didn't know what that looked like. And I didn't feel a direct calling from the Lord in that moment of like, you're going to be a pastor, you're going to be in ministry.
Right.
It was more of like the Lord says, don't go, stay put and let me direct you. And so there was a lot of unknowns. Once again, I didn't know what I was going to do. And I attended college, in Beaumont for the first 2 years. And I just kind of did some general studies just until the Lord was clear.
Yeah.
But that's kind of where it started and where it led. And I just knew that I had to stay in the presence of, what had impacted me.
Yeah.
I needed that. I needed more of it. So,
yeah. So what was the moment then? The Lord basically just gives you direction, not necessarily a calling yet.
Yeah.
And so I guess for people who are like, well, I don't really know if I have a calling right now, it's like, it's okay.
Yeah, absolutely.
You don't have to worry.
No.
Yeah.
You don't need to know everything. Of course, I've been a youth pastor for 14 years. And so many students, junior, senior year, they're like, oh, Pastor Chase, I don't know what I'm going to do. I'm freaking out. Like I'm stressed. And I could tell, when students become seniors, like they're either at youth group and at our things and they're stressed out, or they're not there because they're they're so stressed out about their future. And
Yeah.
I just try to remind them, like, you just stay faithful to the Lord and keep pursuing him. And obviously, like, get wisdom from people, really press into your passions. But at the same time, like, you don't have to have it all figured out.
Yeah.
It honestly wasn't until I was at Lee University, my junior and senior year. It was really my senior year of college where I was like, okay, I'm about to graduate soon. Like, Lord, is this what you really want me to do? And I honestly think the calling of pastor, of shepherding people was on my life the whole time. Maybe the calling was there the whole time. It was really just me having the ability to see it in myself. Maybe there was a lot of fear there. There was just normal insecurities that pretty much everyone has to fight through and has to get past, to really see, like, okay, you can do this. There was a part of me, and we joked about it at the beginning, like, I don't look like I'm in my mid to late 30s. And especially when I was in high school and college, like, I didn't look my age. And so I looked really young. I'm not blessed with, being very tall in stature. And so I think there was a lot of insecurities in me of, like, can I do this? A lot of pastors that I'd known it sounds silly, but a lot of pastors that I'd known walked in confidence. They were tall, big men, like they could really just, dominate a room with their presence, and they had that charisma. And I didn't feel like that's who I was.
Yeah.
And so I think there was insecurities in me of just like, can you actually do that? But, the Lord just keeps pressing on you and keeps reminding you that you got this. And so that's kind of when I turned a corner and made a shift and said, all right, this is what I want to do. This is what I feel like the Lord's calling me to do. So just get out there and start doing it.
Yeah. And then when you got your calling, everything turned out perfect and amazing and rosy, and it was happily ever after.
Yeah. We never had any issues whatsoever. Yeah. No.
Yeah.
No, there was a lot to work through. And, with that, you just, I think you work it out. You don't have complete clarity on anything. I've never had complete clarity.
Yeah.
Even coming here, 2 months ago and accepting the job, 4 months ago. Could I have stayed in Texas? Well, sure. I do it. Would the Lord continue to bless me and have favor on my life? I think so, because I'm walking with him. I love him. I'm, pursuing him. But at some point, the Lord gives you enough clarity to make a decision and just to go for it.
Yeah.
And so that's what it's been really throughout our whole ministry journey, I guess you could say. So it's just trusting him, and whatever decision that we make, it's, I feel like he's going to be with us. So,
yeah. And, I'm a pastor's kid. And so, when you grow up in a pastoral home, you kind of understand there are seasons of life, ebbs and flows, from staff to not staff to starting churches to doing things. What has been like the ebb and flow for you? What has that experience been like for you?
There's lots of ebbs and flows, lots of ups and downs.
Yeah.
But for us, I think we've been blessed. I've, in 14, 15 years of ministry, we've only been to, I guess 4 churches, 3 churches.
Great, yeah.
I think 3.
Yeah.
Now we've gone to one church twice, so we've had 2 stints there. But very, very blessed just to be able to sit in a place and enjoy it and build relationships, where I know there's lots of churches and lots of pastors that, for whatever reason, some that were out of their control, where they're having to be moved all the time, or they're moving all the time. And so I think that's definitely, we've been able to have some security there and just really dig roots down deep and minister to people and get to know the community. And so, I'm excited to see what the Lord has for us here in this area and at Cornerstone for however long that is.
Yeah.
We're gonna dig down deep. So.
Yeah. And if there are people out there who are, I kind of joked about, everything's rosy and perfect after you get your calling. And, obviously, I think everyone would know that the answer is not. But sometimes those people, when you're in the moment of it not being that way, you kind of feel like the reverse, where it's like, well, maybe I wasn't called.
Yeah.
Or Lord, what are you doing? And so what what has been your experience or your lessons of you're in that pit and you're like, I'm not even doing what I was called to do. I'm just in this moment, and Lord, I need you. Where are you at? You
Yeah.
know?
Yeah. I mean, it sounds so simple, but you have to trust the voice that called you in the first place. Like,
Mhm.
you know, we say it all the time in church. We sing about it. We preach it. You know, if he was faithful then he's faithful now. He doesn't
Mhm.
change. He's always the same. And so his faithfulness is never going to relent or give up on us. And so, yeah, and we've probably all been in those seasons where we feel inadequate, unworthy, like, God, why did you call me? Like, like I am not fit for this position, or you actually find yourself in a position or not in a position at all that you thought you were going to be in.
Yeah.
And you can, like you said, have that reverse thought of like, well, I guess I wasn't called,
Yeah.
because you ripped me from this, or whatever, whatever position I had was ripped from me, by someone else,
Mhm.
and it wasn't my doing. Um, you just have to continually remember that the Lord is faithful. He takes us, or he allows seasons in our
Mm.
lives. I mean, there's a million examples through scripture, Job being the most popular one, obviously, of like the Lord allows some different seasons of life, to really show like, hey, are we going to lean and trust on him no matter what?
Yeah.
Are we going to continue to bless the Lord whether he gives or takes away? And it's just a good reminder to us always, like, no matter what season you're in, whether you're on a stage, whether you're not, whether you're
Yeah.
mopping a floor, whether you're, working on a roof. And I was telling you earlier, like, the last year and a half of my life, or really the last 3 years, but the last year and a half solely has been, I've been a metal roof salesman.
That was your full time.
That was my full-time
Were
job.
you pastoring during that time?
I was not, I mean, yeah, I was doing ministry, but I
Yeah.
was not on a
You're not on staff anymore.
pastoral
Yeah.
staff. And for a lot of reasons that, I made the decision to step off
Mhm.
the church that I was at. And, and I felt like it was the best thing for me and my family, and to really keep my character and to do what I felt like was right. But just because I did what I felt like was right doesn't mean that every day I woke up and went, "Ooh, I can't wait to get on a metal roof today." It
Yeah.
is mid-July and August in Texas,
On a
in
metal roof.
San Antonio, Texas,
Yeah.
at that, where it's desert, it's
Yeah.
arid. Yeah, and there'd be days where literally the metal roof would melt my shoes. I
Oh
mean,
my
I
gosh.
I went through plenty of shoes because the soles of them would just melt, and I had to remember every single day, like, yes, this is probably not your calling.
Mhm.
This is probably not ultimately what the Lord wants you to do or has for me. But in the middle of this, what are the lessons that I can learn? I spent I learned quite a few lessons.
Yeah.
I spent most days by myself on a roof, burning up and having to just, it gave me time just to talk with the Lord.
Mhm.
I also learned some lessons about insecurity and rejection and acceptance, because
Mm.
for a long time during those 3 years, I had to door knock.
Yeah.
How many of you like door knocking, like, or people coming to your door? It's not fun.
Yeah.
I now give door knockers the benefit of the doubt, and I'll answer and I'll let them, give their pitch,
Yeah.
because I want to see, like, all right, how good are they?
Yeah.
Or, can they really sell me on this? And, but, I was one of those guys, and we had a legitimate product and we were doing amazing deals for people and
Mhm.
just trying to take care of the customers. It was a Christian based roofing company.
Yeah.
So we got to pray with homeowners, got to walk them through really annoying seasons of life with insurance and all that stuff. So,
Yeah.
but it was not what I desired. I did not wake up and say, "Hey, baby, I can't wait to go to work today." It was like, "Hey, I hope this ends soon."
Yeah.
But while it's going, I'm going to be faithful to what the Lord's called me to do.
Mhm.
And I'm going to be faithful to,
Yeah.
to my family by supporting them and just getting to work.
Yeah.
And throughout that whole time, like, there was churches that I talked to and people,
Mhm.
pastors called, and I just never felt like it was the right fit. Nope, the Lord told me, and I felt a very distinct calling from the Lord. Like, for 1 year, you're not to serve in that capacity. Like, I want you to
Mm.
take a break. And it gave me fresh perspective. It gave me an appreciation for lay leaders who are
Mm.
not on a pastoral team, but they still work their tail off every single week.
Yeah.
for nothing. It gave me a real appreciation for those people. And so I think it's hopefully in the long run will help me be a more compassionate pastor,
Yeah.
to really see different sides of things. So,
Yeah.
yeah.
So was there, when it first started out, did it start kind of like, man, like, what, like were the wheels spinning, or from day one was it the decision of this is going to be not a season I want, but I'm going to stay faithful and I'm going to stay committed?
Yeah. I mean, from day one, I knew like, all right, this is what I'm going to do.
Yeah.
Once again, I felt the call, like the Lord say, I need you to give it 1 year.
Oh, that came at the beginning.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Okay.
I felt like the Lord gave me a very specific, like, I just need you to get to work and do something in the marketplace.
Yeah.
And I'm going to continue to bless. And he blessed us. Like,
Yeah.
I'm not even going to sit here and pout at all. Like, the Lord did some really cool things in our lives. I learned a lot. My wife and I got to spend so much time with my family.
Yeah.
There was a flexibility there. Did I miss the church? Absolutely. And we went to church, but we were kind of in the typical like shopping around for a church, which is totally weird for someone that's been, on staff at a church for 15 years.
Yeah.
To go and, try out different churches every week.
To see how it fits. Yeah.
Yeah. And it's difficult.
Yeah.
Once again, I have a lot of compassion for just, people out there that are looking for a community, because it's really hard to find something that that fits every bucket. And it shouldn't. No church is perfect and no church is going to fit everything. But it's really just finding those group of people that you can grow with. So, but yeah, I had a pretty strong conviction of like, I want the Lord to, first of all, heal some things in me that maybe I don't even know need healing, from the previous, stuff that was happening within the leadership of our church. And the Lord really, even Pastor Jeremy talked about this past week of the grit of allowing the Lord to take trials and situations in your life to really bring something forth to the surface.
Yeah.
So I really felt like when he was preaching that, I'm like, okay, thank you, Lord. Like, the last year and a half was not a waste. He not only did I not give away my character, my integrity, I didn't give away my calling and who I was during that time where I felt like, I was in this valley.
Yeah.
Not only did I not give anything away, but I feel like he reinforced some things in me, and, he brought forth some valuable things in my life. And really a lot of the people that went through what I was going through together, a lot of pastors were in the same situation.
Yeah.
It was cool to see as a community of people that really kind of lost everything that was right in front of them, how the Lord reinforced some valuable things in them. And to realize we didn't actually lose anything. The Lord was trying to gain some things in us. So,
yeah. And just to recap real quick, because you mentioned the message, but one of the points that Pastor Jeremy mentioned in the message was when you're going through a rough spot, you either give up on the dreams or promises the Lord has made you, or you find the valuable thing the Lord's trying to bring out of you in that season. And you kind of said it, but just reiterating what he said, because that's important, because I think people, when they're on the road to their calling, they forget that I feel like every story of someone's path to calling has that moment in there.
Oh yeah.
Like, I don't think that anyone's exempt from it. And if you are, it probably come in. I don't,
Well, the calling was too easy then. Like, it wasn't big enough.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely.
And so when we're talking about calling and, even going through rough patches, what are some encouragements? Wow, that's a word. Hey, what were some encouraging things to say for that you found when it comes to finding your calling, to living in your calling?
Yeah. I think the biggest thing is remembering to pursue the one that calls us first, rather than continuing to like press in and like fight for your calling. If you have to fight for your calling, I don't know if it's really your calling. Now I say that in a way of like, there's going to be grit involved with the purposes of God on your life. And you do have to fight and you have to claw through some things and obstacles, really. But just the idea, like, if you are just constantly trying to get a spiritual gift or a calling, rather than pursuing the giver of those gifts or the giver of that calling, then you missed it, right? It has nothing to do with us anyways. It's all about pursuing him. And so, if you're on that path right now of like really dreaming and like praying, like, Lord, what do you have for me? What is my purpose in life? What's my calling? Maybe you're a student, maybe you're a college student, maybe you're just an adult that's like, I really want to do something different. Like I'm not feeling fulfilled with what I'm doing. The first step is just press into Him.
Yeah.
There's no sense in, just wasting all your time. Like, Lord, what's my calling? What's my purpose? Just press into Him, get to know Him in relationship. And as you do that, I believe the Lord's voice will be very clear to you,
Mm-hmm.
and you'll realize, okay, this is what I'm passionate about. This is where the Lord has put favor on my life. And so, for me, for so many years, that was students. That was the area that I felt, a tug in. That's where I felt like the Lord was using me. And there was people in my life that were giving me wisdom in that area. And so pursuing Him first, and then he'll lead you in that direction.
Yeah.
But being obedient to His voice, obviously. You have to know the language of the Father, to be able to hear Him. And so that means digging into the Word, just spending that time with Him, getting to know Him, and you'll hear His voice. You'll get to know Him in that way. And He won't lead you in a wrong path.
Yeah.
If you find yourself in a far off place where it's just way off, don't look to Him and say, oh, you directed me wrong. No, there might've been a wrong turn somewhere down the road, but it probably wasn't on Him.
Yeah.
And the other thing is just when you feel like the Lord is tugging at your heart and leading you in a direction, you can't allow the many people in Scripture show us this, Moses being one of the biggest examples. You can't allow your insecurities and your fear to stop you from what the Lord has called you to do, whether that's big or small. What He's called you to be faithful in, you have to just get past all the insecurities within yourself. And that comes with time. It's not going to be like the Lord's calling you and say, hey, Jonathan, I need you to go and do this. And you're all of a sudden, you're like, all right, I'm just going to take all the insecurities off and I'm doing it. Like it's a process.
Yeah.
And you can be 30, 40 years into ministry and still, allowing the Lord to rip those insecurities off of you. But, I believe that even in some of the insecurities that you face, knowing, just like Moses said, like, I can't talk well. I can't lead the people. Now Moses gave him people to help. God gave Moses people to help him.
Mm-hmm.
But what God did say is, I'll be with you.
Yeah.
Like my presence will be with you and go before you. And it's, if you're out there and you're, asking the Lord for your calling, asking the Lord for purpose, just know you need to seek the one that gives it.
Yeah.
Above all, but then understand that your insecurities, the things in your life that want to be obstacles from keeping you from getting there, all those things are irrelevant when it comes to the presence going before you.
Yeah.
Like His presence takes care of everything. Funny story. And I'm not saying that I'm a great public speaker.
Right.
I have grown a lot over the last 15 years. But I will say in college, I almost failed speech class because I was terrified to get in front of a small classroom. I mean, a classroom of 10 people, terrified. A room this size right here with 10 people in it. I remember being up in that podium and having to give a speech, 3 times that semester and shaking. Literally, if I would have had a coffee up there, my hands were shaking. There was a terror within me and a fear of I'm not good enough, I'm not worthy. And, honestly, for probably a couple years, that probably held me back from accepting and saying, all right, God, I'm in.
Yeah.
Because I thought, well, to be a youth pastor, you gotta give messages and you gotta stand in front of people. And it wasn't until I really just allowed the Lord to work on that part of my heart. And for me just to say, all right, I'm probably going to screw up. I know I'm going to screw up.
Yeah.
I give announcements on a Sunday and I'll forget a verse like I did a couple weeks ago. And it's just part of it. And you just have to laugh it off and say, God, your presence is with me. So let's do this thing.
Yeah.
And your presence is greater than any fear or insecurity that I currently hold in my life. And so just trusting Him above it all. So, those are the big things. Obviously, leaning on Holy Spirit and everything. I think that charisma, personality, they can do some things and make connections and open doors for you. But it's not going to be the thing that sustains you. It's Holy Spirit that opens every door, closes every door, makes every divine connection, places you in your place of employment. It's Holy Spirit that gives you the favor to do what the Lord's called you to do. And so just trusting in him.
Yeah.
I know that sounds really, simple and easy to do, and it's not always easy.
Right.
But if you're really pursuing your calling, like, trust the one that's calling you, and just, lean on him in every single thing, and he'll direct your paths. So.
Yeah, and it's amazing. You said it was a simple thing, but it's amazing how those simple things, even things like the verse in Matthew about seek first the kingdom.
Yeah.
Like how those simple things actually lead to some
everything
peace
else
in your life.
Yeah.
Some breakthrough in your life when you just focus on the simple things. And that's great, because I know that everyone goes through those seasons of calling, and whether or not, am I still called?
Yeah.
Is this still my thing? I'm doing metal roofs. Is this still, or is that over with? You know?
Yeah.
And so I just appreciate you taking the time to give the inside scoop on who Pastor Chase is, and your story, a little bit of your story, and your journey through ministry, and the encouragement that I think a lot of people need, even as we're going through this sermon series, Grit. Hey, hang on.
Yeah. Absolutely.
And so if you're looking for a church community, Pastor Chase even mentioned, you went through seasons of trying to find a good church community.
Sure.
Cornerstone is a perfect place for you to get connected through a life group. Come on a Sunday morning, watch us online, and give us the far away. Check us out from far away before you commit to coming in person if you want to. And so you can check us out at cornerstonenashville.org if you don't attend here. But if you do, we look forward to seeing you this Sunday.
Yeah.
And thank you so much, Pastor Chase. Any parting words of wisdom before people sign off?
Yeah, if you need me to check your metal roof, just give me a call. I can do that. Check for hail damage, wind damage, all that stuff. No, and I will say this, hopefully it's okay to say this, but if you're not part of a church and you're watching this, come check us out. Absolutely. Maybe Cornerstone Nashville is not for you, and that's okay. It's important for you to get in a body, in a place that really inspires, encourages, challenges you. And that's the other part, I forgot to mention with just this idea of calling. You need to get around people that recognize that, encourage you with it, challenge you with it, keep you accountable to it.
Yeah.
For me, during that metal roofing season, like I would go home discouraged sometimes, and my wife would be like, keep fighting, keep going, keep getting up every day. And at the same time, she was saying, you're not done. You're going to be in ministry again. Just know that. Or full-time ministry. We were still in ministry.
Yeah.
Still loving people and doing all that stuff. But just finding, it just kind of goes along with what you're saying, is finding a church, a local body, a group of people that can encourage you in that. If you're really pursuing that calling that the Lord has on your life, you need people in your life that will encourage you, drive you to that, and also help you when you're acting up a little bit, and keep you accountable and keep you on your toes. So yeah,
awesome. Thank you so much, Pastor Chase, for coming on today, and look for Pastor Jeremy to be back in the seat next week. But thank you so much for sharing your story and for being our executive pastor here at Cornerstone.
Thanks, John.
Y'all have a great week.